And good afternoon, Facebook. And also, good afternoon to you on YouTube. Good afternoon to you on Instagram. It is my pleasure, guys, to bring Mr. Dave Jenkins all the way to Norfolk, Virginia. He's always in Norfolk, Virginia, coming in from Newport News, Virginia, guys. He took time out his day because he wants to educate us on why should we vote at city level. Guys, it's very important that we learn that we need to vote at city level. On the city level is where it actually controls what goes on in our community. Your city councilman, your city mayor, your city attorney, your city manager is the ones who sit there and they're supposed to fight for us, the little people. It kind of goes something like this. And correct me because I'm kind of like Dove with it. I need to be I'm rusty. The city councilman board report back to the city delegates.
The city council and mayor run the city, but they run the city through the city manager and through the city attorney and through the city clerk. And so those are the only three people that the council and the mayor actually have that they're in charge of. But the body works through the professionals like that. And so it's very important to have people on the council who are the voice of the community because that's their role in government. You know, you have the people who have studied like public works for years and they've got degrees and they've worked in it for 30 years, but you have the council that brings the values of the community to the government so that the government does what the people want it to do.
Wow, wow, amazing, amazing, guys. Good afternoon to you guys, and welcome to the Rhoda Live Show. It is my pleasure to introduce you, Mr. Dave Jenkins for Newport News. He is right now presently sitting as City Councilman in Newport News, Virginia. Mr. Dave Jenkins, guys, is running for office for mayor. He is such a wonderful person, guys. He have my vote, and I'm not even a resident of Newport News, Virginia. Welcome, Mr. Dave. How you do?
I'm doing just great. Thank you very much for having me on. Rhoda, I really appreciate your show, and I appreciate all you do for the community, being the voice for a lot of people who don't have a voice.
Wow, thank you. I appreciate that. It's important. We was talking about dreams earlier, and I was explaining to you as a young lady, a little girl, when I was living in the projects, we got videos on the VHS tapes where we cut out cardboard boxes, and I was a news anchor, and my cousin was a cameraman, and here I am reporting the news, and my cousin used to like to drive the bus and push buses around the house, and he's now a bus driver. So I want you guys to know that watch what your kids do because normally they're showing you what they're going to be when they grow up. Did you do anything different or crazy when you was growing up, Mr. Jenkins?
Well, when I was a kid, I had GI Joe, and I had the medic accessory kit with the stretcher and the aid bag and everything like that. And then I later went on to train combat medics in the Army. So yeah, it happens.
It happens. Dreams do come true. And
Yes.
here we are, guys. Well, today we're going to interview Mr. Dave Jenkins because we want to make sure we come abreast with what is his plans for the beautiful city of Newport News and why do he think we should elect him as the next city mayor for Newport News, Virginia. Remember, guys, city level is where the votes at that affects what we go on that goes on in our community, but they take our complaints up to the next level, and that would be to your delegates.
We do work with the delegates in Richmond, and we get a lot of support from the state of Virginia. And having a good relationship, having a strong voice coming from the community on what needs to be done in Newport News is really important.
Down to the question, Mr. Dave Jenkins, how many years have you sat on a city councilman board in Newport News, Virginia?
I have sat there for 4 years. I was, well, a little over 4 years because I was elected 4 years ago last May. But I'm the newest member of council. And so I've been there long enough to figure out where the problems are, but not be part of the entrenched problems that we've been having in our city. And I've tried to be the voice of change during the 4 years that I've been elected. And I've gotten a lot of things done, and I'm really excited about that.
We're excited about it as well. The community, when I was out at the city council meeting earlier this month, the community speak very highly of you. Can you tell me why so many people really speak highly of you about so many community events that you attend and so many programs that you vote for? You are the only one that be voting for the lower income community. Why do they feel so great about you? What's so special about you, Mr. Day Jenkins?
Well, um, I don't consider myself particularly special, but since I was elected, I have always believed in going out and going to community events. I love being around people. I love listening to what's going on in the community, and that's been something a lot of our council members haven't done in the past. And so that's made a difference. And then I think one of the things that really separates me from the rest of the council is that I tend to tell people what I think. So if, for example, we had groups come down and they were very concerned about the fact that right now it looks like we're not going to be rebuilding Huntington Middle School where the old school was. We're going to convert that to a community center and we're going to build a brand new school. Well, the community wanted that history and heritage to be part of their children's learning experience. They felt it was important. And so I said, yeah, I agree. I think we ought to have Huntington Middle School where it has been, and we ought to incorporate the old school into the new design, and we ought to build a separate community center. And I said, I won't support funding for a school that is moving, for a plan that moves Huntington Middle School. And I expected other people to speak up one way or the other, and they didn't.
Let me ask you this. You said they didn't. And I'm not trying to be funny.
Yeah, sure.
The city of Newport News city councilman board is majority white. Are you the only white, majority black?
Mhm.
So are you the only white city councilman?
No, I'm not. Actually, Pat Woodbury is also white. She served on the council for a lot longer than I have.
Oh yeah, the lady that sit on the end.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. However, so it's 7 of y'all?
There are 7, including the mayor. And Councilwoman Woodbury is considerably older. She is in her 80s. So there's a generational difference there.
So you're telling me 6 people, including at least 4 minorities, voted against keeping black school in its community and upgrading the school so that we can preserve the history of the Southeast District of Newport News?
I'll tell you, since I got on council, I've been a strong voice for rebuilding Huntington. Others have not really said very much about that, one way or the other. I'm not going to say they voted against it, but they have yet to voice their concerns about moving the school. And I think that's something they should address with the public. Whether they agree with me or disagree, people like to know where you stand when you're in politics. And they like to ask you questions about why you believe what you believe.
Wow, amazing. Guys, that's why I say we need to start voting for people and not color. So that's why I bring diversity to our platform, because I wholeheartedly believe that we need to stop voting for people of our same color. And I'm not saying not to vote for them, but we need to vote with diversity. Vote for the people. People ask me, are you Republican? Are you Democrat? Are you independent? Well, I'm independent because I don't know where I'm at, because I vote for the people. May I ask you, are you a Republican or are you a Democrat?
Well, this is a nonpartisan race, so that's kind of an awkward question. I don't want to make it partisan, but generally I have supported Democrats more recently in elections, because again, I do look at the person as well.
Wow. Tell me, Mr. Dave Jenkins, what are your plans for Newport News as the mayor when you're elected?
Well, my platform is I want to fight gun violence and crime in our neighborhoods, because that's a concern for so many people. And I want us to do it the right way, not with aggressive policing, but with grassroots organizations and building wraparound services like mental health services and providing support for young people. I want us to support our schools. You know, before I came on council, the schools had been basically flatlined in the city budget for a number of years. The first year I was on council, the city revenues grew $10 million. The new school superintendent asked for 2.4 million of that, and the city manager gave him nothing, not $1 more. And I raised an issue about it. Councilman Harris stood with me. We both voted against the city operating budget because of that. And since then, every year we found a way to get more money into the school budget. But it just takes sometimes somebody standing up for an issue and not necessarily being successful then for it to come about. And I want to keep pressing for schools. I think it was a great tragedy, a disgrace for our city when we closed Huntington and we didn't even have a plan as to what we were going to do. And we did that because we just didn't support maintenance in the school.
Wow.
I also want us to support small business. We spend huge amounts of taxpayer money to attract big businesses in Newport News, and that's good. We need big business. But when I talk to an entrepreneur who has a dream, who wants to open his own business, and sometimes he goes through months of inspections and paperwork and not knowing whether he can do it or not, and not necessarily having a city that helps him along in the process, then that's not right. I believe in small business. I believe that people should be able to excel in our communities. I also want us to have a healthy, safe environment in Newport News. And Newport News has the largest coal port on the East Coast. We have been having coal come out of Newport News for about 140 years now. But we have coal dust in our downtown area. And it's causing residents there, and it's causing kids there to have breathing problems and health issues. And it's time that we did what a lot of other places around the world are doing and find a way to mitigate that coal dust and find a way to cover it possibly. I've talked to people who said that's what they do in other countries, or some other way to make sure it's a healthy environment. And we need to work on the bacteria that we have in our James River. When I was a kid, you went out and you swam in the James River and nobody thought about it. And now you've got to check on the computer and see what the bacteria count is today for your kids to go out and enjoy the river. And again, I don't necessarily have the answer, but we need to be working on the answer. And we need to take it seriously because it affects our health and our quality of life in Newport News. And the other thing I want to do is I want us to come together as a community. We have been divided for way too long in Newport News. We don't have the real discussions that we need to have. We don't have the public input that we should have. And when we have moved forward, a lot of times it has been by excluding voices rather than hearing people out with the respect they deserve. And the other thing I want us to do is be a city that gets things done. What I've noticed in Newport News is we love to study issues, and we'll do a study, we'll get community involvement, and then 20 years later, we'll go back and study it again because we haven't gotten anything done. And that is not fair to our citizens who want to be involved. It's not fair to our taxpayers who pay for those studies. And it just gives the community a feeling that things aren't changing. And people are reasonable. I mean, I don't expect everything to be perfect. I'm sure you don't.
Right.
But if you see people working to make it better, you have that hope. And it's a community you want your kids to be in. And it's a community kids want to come back to after college because they want to see what's happening next. They want to see that great city that's being built. And that's what I want to bring to Newport News as our mayor.
Wow. Amazing. Heartfelt. I believe it. I felt the passion from it. I pray victory. But I have another question
Okay.
that I do have to ask you.
Okay.
How many terms would you like to sit as the mayor of Newport News? And how long do you think too long in sitting one position is?
Right now, I'm working on one. Okay. But if I'm successful and I'm in the mayor's job, I don't see it as a career position. I don't want to serve for 20 or 30 years. I know some mayors do that. I believe in serving, being effective, and then moving on to other things and letting someone else have an opportunity. And I believe that we do need to bring more young people into government. I believe that we need some fresh perspectives. And I would really love to work with the next generation of leaders that are coming along so that they're well prepared to step into the mayor's role or onto city council when that time is right. Realistically, I'm thinking 1, maybe 2 terms as far as mayor.
Okay, 1 to 2 terms as mayor. How long do you think is too long when people sit in a certain position for a long time? Like we have people that sit in positions in Newport News even to the sheriff office for over 20 years. How long is too long for one person, do you think, in your opinion, is for them to sit in office?
It depends on the person, but I think that elected positions should not be lifetime positions. It just doesn't seem to work real well. When I was in the Army and a company commander, you normally were a company commander for 18 months to 2 years, and then you gave someone else a shot at it. And I think we need fresh blood in our elected officials from time to time. When you're serving in office, you tend to become a little isolated. You tend to kind of do the same things. And after a while, you did all the things that you wanted to get done when you were elected. And it's tough to keep that passion going and those new ideas going for a really long period of time.
Amazing. Let me step away for a second. I apologize. Back to you.
Okay.
Back to you, Mr. Dave Jenkins. And I apologize. What are some immediate changes that we will see when you become elected for the mayor of Newport News, Virginia?
The things that I can do right away that I think will make a huge difference in our city would be recording and airing work sessions so that everyone in Newport News can see what's going on in our government and have access to the briefings of city departments that the council has. The Newport News is the only city in the Hampton Roads area that does not do that for citizens. And I think that that is just a terrible idea. You know, we have a long, skinny city. A lot of our people are geographically isolated from City Hall because we have City Hall at one end of the city. And we need to do reasonable things to let people know what's going on in their government and allow them to give me input. You know, when you see the briefing, then, you know, I want to know what you think and help me be better at my job. And with the work schedules that people work these days, very few people have the time to be able to come down at 4 o'clock every other Tuesday to the Downing Groves Cultural Arts Center and sit there and watch the presentations themselves. So I think that's a really important thing. One of the other things I would like to do is I'd like to be a facilitator as mayor. So one of the things you do as mayor is lead the meetings of the city and the work sessions. And so during the last 4 years, if a council member had an issue they wanted raised, they would raise that issue. And then a lot of times everybody else would kind of go, and then the mayor would say, okay, no support for that, moving on. But as mayor, I could say, tell me a little bit more about that. Why do you think that's important? Why should we be doing that? And draw people out and have real discussions. And I think that would help us come together as a city.
What is some of your dislikes about how Newport News, Virginia is being managed right now?
I think the biggest problem that we've had has been communication on the council and working together. That's a real challenge because you have people who are all independently elected. They all have different voter bases. And it is a challenge to bring that kind of team together. But we've got to communicate better. And I believe that we really need to see a different idea of what it means to serve the people as a city council member or as the mayor. People who serve should be the voice of their community and bringing up issues. And, you know, people should be bringing up 2 or 3 things a year that they feel are important about where they need our city to go. And I'm not seeing any of that. And too often the city council seems to be kind of overshadowed by the city government. And it's our obligation to provide the leadership, not the management of the city.
What do independent city mean? Newport News is an independent city. Virginia have most of the independent cities in the United States. So what do independent city mean?
It's really interesting. It's one of those Virginia things where you talk to anybody else in other parts of the country and they think you don't know what you're talking about. But Virginia decided to allow cities to be independent. I believe in the 1880s. And so in most parts of the country, almost every part of the country, if you have a city, it's within a county. So you've got two levels of government that you're working with in your locality. But in Virginia, they allowed cities to be independent and not have a county government over them.
Oh, I'm glad to know that. What do you know about the significant history that is precious to the Southeast community?
What was that question again?
Okay, let's repeat. This is a question thrown in from one of the viewers.
Okay.
What do you know about the significant history that is precious to the Southeast community? What do you know about the history of the Southeast end of Newport News?
Well, I know a lot about the Southeast, the history of Southeast Newport News. Probably not as much as a lot of others do. I'm still learning. It's a vibrant story that hasn't been told very well. But my great grandfather opened one of the first grocery stores in Newport News back in about 1882. And it was located in South Newport News. He eventually opened the store that was on the corner of 26th and Chestnut Street downtown. That's where my grandmother grew up, probably where she was born in 1895. And the store was down there until the end of the 1930s. My parents were married at the Methodist Church right down the street. And if you get into the history of Newport News, it's an amazing story that has been suppressed about the talent that Newport News attracted from all communities, and how in the early days of our city, we were a diverse, multicultural, multiracial city that really was an exciting place to be, and it attracted so much talent to our city. And then later, 30 to 40 years later, we began having the separations. We began having the divisions that escalated and continued and are in the city even today in certain ways. And if we can go back to that original vision of us all living together and succeeding together, that's a great vision for our city. And very few cities were founded like that.
When elected mayor, would you be attempting to bring back the Southeast Parade,
Absolutely.
if possible?
Absolutely, and I think it's very possible. If you look at the cost of that event and the other events that were affected by the vote of the city council earlier this year, it's not a significant amount of money that we're talking about here. I think it was politically motivated, and I think it's a tragedy. I participated in the Southeast Parade for a number of years, and it's never been about politics. It's never been about politicians. It's always been about the community, celebrating the community, and people coming out and having a good time. And the city is better when we support events like that everywhere in Newport News.
During the last city council meeting in Newport News, Virginia, there was several angry people about the South End Parade. They was angry. They said, we've been having this parade for years. I dare you as city officials to remove that parade from our city. Mr. Jenkins was one of the ones that voted for the parade. So like, once again, that's a perfect example. He is for the people. Also, as you heard, as I interviewed him, I was going to answer my next question about grassroots organizations. He spoke about it, but can you reiterate a minute about how important it is to help out the grassroots organizations out here?
I think it's really important. I'm in a suit now, and people don't really know a lot about my background. But when I came to Newport News, the way I got started in politics was just helping out, going out and supporting grassroots organizers and doing what needed to be done. I was not the person who came in and said, oh, I've got to be in charge of an organization, or I've got to be on a board or something like that. It was just going out and doing the walking and the day-to-day stuff that every grassroots organization needs done. It's not very glamorous. And I'll tell you, when you're working grassroots, you don't get a lot of recognition. You're there because you love the community. And I think we need to be supporting groups like that. That's one of the reasons I pressed for a grant program to help grassroots organizations fighting gun violence, which was defeated in January. But then later, somehow it came about, and we got it done. So I'll call that a win, but
Yes.
again, it's one of those things you've got to have people fighting for it to come about.
When you are elected as the mayor, would you be doing a more hands-on approach than micromanaging?
Yes, absolutely. You know, um, I was a medical service corps officer for 8.5 years, and mainly worked in training combat medics and working in field units and things like that. But you know, I constantly supervised experts. You know, I had psychologists and social workers and doctors who relied on what I brought to the table, and so you have to work with professionals in a certain way, but you can't be overshadowed by them. And you have to have that mutual respect. And that's what I tried to build in the city council with the professionals on city staff. Always be reasonable, always be respectful, always be collaborative rather than confrontational.
Amazing, amazing. What are your plans to include the South End community in the economic development that's already in place?
Well, there are lots of things I would like to see in the Southeast community. But with COVID, I honestly haven't talked to the Southeast community a lot. And I want to have more public participation. So when I say this, I'm saying this is what I think, but I'm not forcing it on the community. I think the community needs to discuss this more. But my vision for economic development is really simple. You get a place where you have affordable housing, where people can own their homes and enjoy their standard of living. You work to build businesses in that area that employ people so people can live and work in the same part of the city. And then when you do that, retail wants to come because they've got the people and they've got the money there, and they're naturally drawn to that. And you get some really great retail businesses in there, and it makes it a really vibrant, exciting, fun place to live. And that's what we need to go back to. That's kind of the way that Newport News was established to begin with.
Wow, simply amazing. I would truly love to see someone with your character sitting in City Hall representing the people and being having the diversity where people can feel comfortable coming to the City Hall meetings. A lot of times, my opinion, we don't come to the City Hall meeting. It's because when y'all up there, they look at us like we're retarded. You know, they don't smile, they don't nod their head, they don't agree, they don't answer questions. So why would it make the people interested in coming if it's seen as though we're speaking to a brick wall? What would make you different when you grab that seat?
Well, you know, people can tell when you disrespect them, and you don't have to say anything. People can tell. And to me, it's a matter of the heart. Because if you believe in people and you believe that people are smart, even if they don't necessarily have a degree, then you want to listen to them and you want to listen to their perspective on things. And if you're kind of an elite person and you believe that, well, nobody can have any ideas unless they've had my schooling or my experience or, uh, you know, they're just, why should I even waste my time trying to explain what I'm trying to do to somebody who will never get it? That's not who I am. I believe in people. You know, my mom's family was from the Hampton Roads area, from Newport News, but my dad's family was from Western Maryland. We were coal miners, and we were people who did the work and didn't have very much education. And you know, none of my grandparents even graduated from high school. Okay, but I know they were smart people, and I know we've got smart people in our communities right now, and we need to respect them and talk to them and come to where we understand what's going on together.
How do you feel? I'm gonna tell you now that you are the first politician to sow into the Rhoda Young Life Communication Corporation by allowing me to interview you on my platform. That you're actually helping build and brand another small business, a grassroots business, which is a media company. How do you feel about knowing that you're sitting right here and nobody else really gave me this opportunity or wanted to use some of their their campaign funds to sponsor me? How do you feel knowing that you're the only one as of this day so far? The first one, I'm sorry. Someone else is coming, but the first one.
I'll tell you, I feel great. I love to help people in any way I can. I love to see people who do so much work like you do, and anything I can do to help in any way, I'm glad to do it. You know,
Do you believe in when we change the city board, we should change everything on the city board? Or do you believe in leaving the people who control the city? Can I break that down for you?
sure.
Who control the city is the city manager and also maybe the city attorney have a lot to do with it. Um, if we change the city councilman board and leave the same city manager, then how do we get change all the way across the city councilman board? Do you believe when there is an election to remove city councilmen that sometimes we need to replace even the city manager at the same time? Because Newport News is having a major overhaul. Y'all have like 4 or 5 different positions at one time coming open. So y'all gonna be bringing in fresh eyes. So why would y'all bring in fresh eyes and leave the same people at the top that's going to still have the same concept?
That's a really good question. And yeah, what I can tell you is that the city manager has an awkward job because the city manager works for the majority of council. So if the majority of council wants her to do certain things, she pretty much has to, because any day of the week or any council meeting, 4 people could get together and just say you're fired. Okay, so she really doesn't have a lot of independence from the elected officials. Now we change those elected officials, and we have people who want to get certain things done. She may be very helpful in getting those things done. She has a lot of experience in city government, and she's always been really pretty good for me to work with on a lot of issues. But she's in an awkward position. I don't know if she's going to stay, but sometimes you do have to replace the city manager. And if the city manager is not doing the things that the council wants done, that's very appropriate. Uh, so that's kind of where I am.
I'm glad you answered that, and it makes sense to me because now I get it. So if the city manager do not do what the majority say do, then she can be terminated as well. I am Rhoda Young Live, and this is Mr. Dave Jenkins running for mayor of Newport News, Virginia. Before we go, can you sell yourself to us and tell us what we can expect this November 8th when you become mayor of Newport News, Virginia?
Well, when I become mayor of Newport News, you're going to see a difference. You're going to see a mayor that is much more engaged in the community, that's out at a lot of events that you probably haven't seen a mayor or any elected official at before, learning about the community, interacting with people who haven't had a voice in our government. And I hope that we always have a city, as long as I'm the mayor, where people can feel free to come in, visit with me, and they don't feel intimidated, and they don't feel afraid, and they don't feel like they're going to have their voice minimized just because of who they are or where they come from in the city. And I hope that we can all work together to build a common vision for Newport News and work together to actually get it done this time, to get it right, to get that progress going that we've needed for so very long in our city, and to move up and to the next level and to the next level. I've told a lot of people that when I'm elected, I want to work every day to make Newport News, Virginia, the best city in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And that's my vision for our city. Thank you.
Wow. And thank you. The phone thing in Newport News, Virginia. Would you put a policy in place that the city officials must return phone calls and answer their phones to the citizens?
Yes, I think that's a big problem in our city.
Answer the phone.
Yes, answer the phone.
I'm Rhoda Young Live, and this is
Dave Jenkins, running for mayor of Newport News.
Until we meet again, guys, we'll see you guys at the finish line. Please don't forget to vote for Mr. Dave Jenkins this November 8th, Newport News, City Hall, City Mayor. Guys, if you're looking for a change, then he is the man. Let's bring some diversity into the house so we can see some different things going on in our community. Mr. Dave Jenkins has been standing with us before he took seat at City Council. He was been working with grassroots organizations for multitudes of years. Let's move him up so we can get some more people into office and some more grassroots jobs with some great funding. I'm Rhoda Young Live. It was my pleasure to meet you today, Mr. Dave Jenkins.
My pleasure as well. Thank you for all you do.
You're welcome. See you at the finish line. Bye, guys.